Your breath catches. A cold weight crushes your chest. Your mind, a labyrinth of invisible paths, races in silence. You feel the walls closing in. There are no visible bars, but the air is thin. Every heartbeat echoes like an alarm. Has the fear of the future stolen your present? Think of the fog that paralyzes your decisions. Those opportunities that slip away. The dreams that become impossible, not from lack of ability, but from the shadow of a what if that never arrives. You find yourself trapped, a statue of anguish. What happens when tomorrow, invisible and uncertain, becomes a monster that devours today? Your time drains away, every second stolen by the dread of what's to come. Viktor Frankl, master of resilience in the face of adversity, reminded us, between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. But what if anxiety has stolen even that sacred space? The cage is your mind. Built by dread, fed by a future that doesn't yet exist, but already consumes you. Your life becomes a weight, not an existence. If this provocation hit you at your most vulnerable core, if you feel the invisible claws of fear pulling you down, this video is a brutal mirror, ready to break the bars of that prison, ready to unveil the fear that stops you from living. You weren't born with an anxious mind, paralyzed by the future. You were born with the ability to flow with life, to adapt, to live the present in all its colors. But you were programmed for security at all costs, for predictability, for the fear of the unknown that now suffocates you. From your first step, society whispered the lie. Prepare for the worst. School taught you to fear failure. Media bombarded your subconscious with narratives of crisis, scarcity, invisible threats lurking around every corner. Your brain was molded for constant alert, an exhausted sentinel on an imaginary battlefield. This is behavioral engineering in its coldest essence, a system that keeps you in a state of hypervigilance, draining your vital energy. You were conditioned to seek control where none exists, to predict the unpredictable, to long for guarantees the universe can never give. Think of the intermittent reinforcement of fear, an alarming news report, an economic crisis, a personal setback. Each event validates your anxiety, reinforcing the belief that danger is real and constant, keeping you trapped in the cage. And behavioral finance enters here brutally. The fear of the future, of instability, of loss, drives irrational financial decisions. You cling to money as a false barrier against uncertainty, spending impulsively to numb the panic, or worse, paralyzing yourself, unable to act, to invest, to plan, because the fear of making a mistake is greater than the hope of succeeding. The insurance industry, guarantees, and financial stability capitalize on this implanted anxiety, selling a false peace that keeps the mind in constant servitude. Robert Cialdini, in his Laws of Persuasion, shows how scarcity and the authority trigger are used to manipulate your perception. Politicians and economists sell chaos to justify their agendas, keeping you too exhausted to question the true chains that bind you. You were indoctrinated to love your cage because it promises false security, a refuge from chaos that, ironically, is fueled by itself. If this programming resonates with you, if you feel the invisible bars of the anxiety cage, comment below. I question my fear of the future. You feel a deep ache. A chilling paralysis radiates from your core, freezing every impulse. Your mind, a whirlwind of thoughts that aren't truly yours, spins endlessly, conjuring dark scenarios that pull you down into a swirling abyss. This is your internal fragmentation, the price of your soul surrendered to the tyranny of anxiety and the fear of the unknown. The shadow, according to Carl Jung, is everything you deny within yourself. Your raw vulnerability, your desire to release control, your capacity to live in the present without guarantees, your very faith in the future. All of this has been silenced, pushed into the unconscious dark, in the name of false security and the incessant pursuit of a purpose that the system imposed on you. And what you repress commands you from the shadows. It sabotages you in cruel ways, hence the difficulty in making decisions, the inertia that binds you to the same spot, the feeling of being completely lost, directionless, even with 1,000 paths open. Anxiety becomes your invisible master, an icy chain dragging you into the swamp of inaction. Gabor explains that the trauma of seeking unattainable control, of the pressure to be perfect and infallible, creates a vicious cycle of self-deception. Your own intuition, your innate ability to discern the way, atrophies under the weight of a fear that is not yours, but implanted. You project your shadow onto those who seem courageous, onto those who risked and won, because seeing strength in them means confronting your own unaccepted weakness, your own paralysis that prevents you from living. You wear the mask of the cautious, the realist, but behind it, your soul cries out for freedom. Your identity becomes anxiety itself. You are not who you are. You are the person that the fear of the future and of failure allow you to be. A puppet moved by the strings of uncertainty. How much of your life is spent maintaining this illusion of control? In feeding the cage that imprisons you? In fighting against ghosts that don't exist? If this truth provoked you, if you feel your soul contracting before this reality, comment below. I choose my unshakable strength. You seek freedom. But why do you feel so empty? Trapped in a cage of thoughts, even with the world outside, vibrant and full of possibilities that seem just out of reach. The freedom they promised you was choice. But anxiety has stolen even the ability to decide, the freedom to come and go. But fear has chained you to a place, a routine, an inertia that seems insurmountable. This is false freedom, a prison of air where control is an illusion and existential emptiness deepens with each unlived day. The system sells you the illusion of security, of a risk-free future. It transforms your search for purpose into a dopamine trap, into fleeting spikes of momentary relief when you avoid an imaginary danger or when you surrender to inaction. Think of the comfort and predictability industry. It doesn't need to force you to stop. It just needs to offer a constant flow of distractions and anesthesias, an environment where risk is minimized and the comfort zone becomes a labyrinth, and profit flows dripping from your paralysis. This is anxiety capitalism. It profits from your fear, from your indecision, from your inability to act. Your energy, your time, your dreams, all monetized by the engine of dread that immobilizes you. Behavioral finance operates here brutally. How often have you found yourself unable to make a financial decision, paralyzed by the fear of failure or loss, or conversely, spent compulsively to quell panic, buying false security or immediate pleasure that dissipated quickly? Anxiety shapes your finances, transforming money, which should be a tool, into yet another source of torment. Daniel Kahneman taught us about loss aversion bias. The fear of losing is stronger than the desire to gain, and anxiety is the master of this bias, keeping you in a state of non-action, of avoiding any step that might lead to pain. You are not deciding. You are obeying the voice of panic, the script of stay safe. To maintain the illusory order of your restricted world, the stability of your own imprisonment, the manufactured peace of your cage. But true freedom, it doesn't hide in control. It is conquered in the leap into the unknown, in the courage to breathe deeply and live, even without guarantees, to be the now, unshakable. If this section resonated with you, if the walls of this cage seem to vibrate, comment here. I don't want to trade freedom for fear anymore. Rupture is not a map. It is the step into the dark. It is when you realize that true security lies not in controlling the future, but in the unshakable strength of your present, where the air expands in your lungs. Even within the cage, authentic reconstruction begins in the silence of your acceptance, in the courage to feel the tremor of fear, but not to bow to it, to allow for the uncertainty of tomorrow, not as a threat, but as fertile ground for today. You free yourself from the need for guarantees, embracing the only certainty, your capacity to choose how to respond. Gabor shows us, the root of anxiety's paralysis is the trauma of disconnection from one's own capacity to act, from the innate trust in life. The pursuit of total control is an escape. The cure is reconnection with your own intuition, with the power of the present. It is the silent strength that emerges when you stop fighting the current. This is true disobedience, disobeying the voice of panic echoing in your mind, the script of failure that the system insists on repeating. Disobeying your own self-sabotage. It is an act of existential rebellion. It is a radical choice to abandon the false security of inaction, of the routine that binds you, of the place where anxiety has become your false comfort, for the uncertainty of action, for the risk of living fully, for the vastness of your own potential. An autonomy that is priceless, because it cost your identity as a prisoner. Jordan Peterson talks about the responsibility of embracing order in chaos, of facing the uncertainty of the future, and building meaning in the present. Your life is not a rigid plan to be followed, but a journey to be lived, step by step. Even in the fog, you will lose the fear of failing. You will stop sabotaging yourself with overplanning and inertia, because there will be no part of you hidden behind panic, no vital energy wasted fighting ghosts. Your soul, free from the cage. This is freedom. Not the freedom to control what is to come, but the freedom to live the present with totality, to breathe deeply, to be, with purpose, with presence, without paralysis, without the invisible chains of fear. If you feel this is the moment to break through the walls of anxiety, type in the comments, "The fear programming ends with me," or send this video to someone trapped in the cage of anxiety. The cage of anxiety. Unveil the fear that stops you from living. Has the fear of the future stolen your present? In the uncertainty of tomorrow, I find the unshakable strength of today. True freedom lies not in controlling time, but in inhabiting every second, with an expanded soul, even within the cage. How do you break free from the cage of anxiety when the very air seems to suffocate you? The answer isn't in a perfect plan, but in a step into chaos. You are not your anxiety. You are not your fear. You are not paralysis. You are a consciousness capable of breathing deeply, of choosing action, of finding purpose even in the fog of the unknown. The price of freedom isn't speech, but the courage to break the silence the system imposed on you. The courage to embrace uncertainty, to live without guarantees, to be the now, fully. Choose your unshakable strength, even if it trembles, even if tomorrow is a blank screen. This is your deepest freedom, to be who you truly are, beyond the panic, beyond the cage, beyond the fear of the unknown. If something awakened in you in this video, if the key to the cage seemed to turn in your hands, comment, "I see beyond the veil of anxiety." Share this content with anyone living trapped in the cage of anxiety. And if you want to keep breaking cycles with me, subscribe now. The shadow you avoid controls you. Freedom only frightens, until you discover you were ready all along. Rupture is the beginning. Consciousness is the path to your unshakable now.